Okay. Okay, it's my great pleasure to introduce our keynote speaker for many reasons, but the biggest one is that he is a graduate of Northeast High School, and he still lives here in the county. Aziz Abdur was a star quarterback at Northeast High School a few years ago, and he received a full football scholarship to the University of Maryland, after which he was drafted by and played for the Kansas City Chiefs. In his life after football, he's worked at the University of Maryland. He's held a variety of marketing and sales positions, but his real love is mentoring students, and he does quite a bit of that. He works with young people, helping them set goals and understand the impact of their decisions on their futures. We're really excited to welcome Aziz this morning to encourage us as parents and significant adults in our children's lives to see the positive impact we have on our children's journey on the road to becoming successful, contributing members of society. And without further ado, I'd like to welcome Aziz.
Good morning, everyone. So you'll have to bear with us as the stage, we had a little technical difficulty as well. You probably haven't figured that out. So as you look at this graphic, what comes to mind? You see the top of the iceberg? So as you look below the iceberg, and actually before Dr. Arundel goes to ballet practice with his daughter, I'm going to ask him a question about his 16-year-old daughter. Underneath the iceberg, what trait is it that she has the most difficulty with? Failure? Does anyone else, children, have the same challenge? For those who didn't answer, like Dr. McMahon, I'm just curious, what do you see?
I have a 16-year-old daughter, too.
Yes, at Chesapeake High School, who I've had the pleasure to meet.
She has trouble with persistence.
Persistence? Anybody else have trouble with persistence? For those of you who have not raised your hand, Shauna, what do you think? What do you have challenges with your child?
My daughter is 7, and disappointment is the most difficult thing.
Disappointment. So I was telling Dr. Arletto and a few other people as I didn't attend my son's first basketball game where he started last night because I needed to be here. It was really important for me to be here so that I could navigate this. I wasn't really expecting this, so as I was watching the game last night, so my son actually started. So it was Cornell versus Georgia Tech, and my son is at Cornell. He's my youngest of 3, and I have 2 college graduates and a 19-year-old. Wow. So now what's funny about this is a couple of weeks ago when basketball practice started at Ithaca, his first week went great. He's like, "Dad, had a great first week." So of course, this isn't happening over the phone, this is by text. So we're texting back and forth, and I said, "Hey, Jordan, how was week 2? And he was like, "Dad, it didn't go so well." So as a parent, when you hear that, of course you want to help. And sometimes the best thing to do as a parent is to step back and not fall off the stage. I forgot about the gap. It's to take a step back, really take a step back and let them figure it out. The reason why I wanted to talk about this is because that's what I see when I talk to students all the time, is that they have talent, they have the IQ. The challenge for them is failure. If we just take that word and we think of fail, first attempt in learning. Persistence, as you all know, I'm preaching to the choir, it takes time to succeed. I mean, we can look at someone like Oprah, for instance. Oprah used to be here in Baltimore before she was fired. So it was the best thing for her because she went on to become Oprah. So anyway, grit. What does grit mean to you? Anyone? Tough? Mickey O, what does it mean to you? Maybe persistence? Heart? Anything else? Yes? Tenacity, I like that word. Anyone else? Clint Eastwood. Which movie? Magnum 365? No. In the back?
Well, I think it's persistence, but it's also persistence, more importantly, when the going gets tough.
Okay, so persistence when the going gets tough. Yes?
Plowing on in the face of adversity.
Yes. So when you work with your children, the tendency to sustain an effort over a long period of time. So the beauty of having 3 children is the same strategy doesn't work for all of them. You know, I have my daughter's in the middle, and she's just so much more detailed than the 2 boys. My oldest son, he was much like me, so when you kind of talking to yourself, it's kind of tough because you're like, whoa, I would have said that. I would have done that. What about this? I mean, so I think this meets some of the definitions that you all have said. But the person, Miss Duckworth, she's a former consultant who became a 7th grade math teacher. And she's become the foremost authority on grit. And she says that grit is more important than IQ, more important than talent, because we have run across people who have talent, who have the IQ, but yet they tend to give up or they fail. And after failure, they give up. I've read many articles over the years, especially the last couple of months, about college students. They get a D or they get a B, and all of a sudden, the world has come to an end. So what I want you to do, I want you to think about where you are on the grit scale, and if you all will indulge me, I will ask a few of you, like, if you were on a scale of 0 to 5, 0 being when an obstacle faces you, you give up. 5 being you reach your goal. And the reason why I'm asking you this question is because really, as been said already, our students, our children, they really look at us. And it's more about what you do rather than what you say. And that's tough for us because we want to save them. And like I said before, sometimes the best thing to do is to step back. So, where are you on your own grit scale? From 0 to 5. Anyone care to share? Yes, in the back. A 4? Excellent. Somebody else had their hand raised. Any other 4s in the audience? I'm going to call you Mr. Navy. Is that okay?
5.
A 5. Okay, I got to hear why you are a 5.
I don't like failure, and I'm determined to do it. If the obstacle's in front of me, I either go through it, but I don't go around it. So whoever or whatever running through it, they understand I will succeed.
You can hear it in his voice. You can definitely hear it in his voice. Anyone else? Anyone on the left side? Yes, in the middle. A 2. Okay. Care to share?
I'm willing to admit that if I want something, I do try to go for it, but I think I stop it like the second no.
You said you stop at the second? Okay.
I'll keep going. If there's a second no, oh, I better go.
Yes, all the way in the back.
I'll be honest, I think mine's a little too late. I don't think it's static, and I think that's because it depends on where you are emotionally on a scale, or it depends on if you feel confident in a situation or feel that you, like, it's like a child. A child might be exceptional at art, but not so good at math.
Mhm.
So in art, they will just be A's, straight A's, and feel really confident in that, but in math, they won't be. So I think grit and where you are with grit depends on that, personally. So I can be a 1 with something, but a 5 with others.
And I think that's true for all of us. So that's the beauty of this. The fact that you're here is you're trying to get strategies and additional resources to help your child and also hopefully to help yourself. I will tell you, so you've heard that I went to Northeast High School, and I remember one of the coaches saying to me, you know, you're a big fish in a little pond. And it stuck with me, and I still use it to this day. And this particular teacher He's retired, but he still coaches at Northeast High School. And I'm glad he said that to me. Because when I went to the University of Maryland on a football scholarship, I had no idea. I mean, to be honest with you, I had aspirations to go to play football, play college football, but it wasn't like it is now. That's what some students, that's their particular goal. For me, playing sports was something I did because it was fun. Just to kind of give you an idea, my junior year, I decided to play Officer Krupke instead of running track. So I thought you guys would laugh at that because I decided, well, I mean, if you really think about it, I'm an African-American guy and I played a white Polish police officer. You know, that's kind of funny. So imagine the makeup, and it didn't work, but by the way. I didn't run track that particular year. I had no idea that that may be important for me earning a scholarship. But what was really cool about it, the football coaches, the other coaches in the building, they were there on opening day. So the reason why I do what I do is because of the opportunities that students, well, actually that teachers gave me and the support that they gave me. So where's your child on the grit scale? The person who said that you were a 2, where do you think your child is on the grit scale? Okay. The person who said they were a 5, Mr. Navy, where is your child on the grit scale? A 4? Okay. Anyone over here? So the really cool thing about this is, we'll talk a little bit about this, there's a session on growth mindset, because the research is showing that our minds are continuing to grow. Even though as parents we're supposed to model the things that we want for our children, it doesn't necessarily mean that they're going to inherit the 2 or the 4 or the 5. Yes? So the growth mindset session will probably be great for you, because when you said you can't do that yet, it's like when I switched from being a wide receiver, actually from being a quarterback in high school to becoming a wide receiver. I had never played that position before. And my transition from high school to college was a little challenging. You know, I get there the first or second day of practice and they do the 40-yard dash time and you have to bench press and you have to do all these things. And you know, I knew I was fast, but I had no idea like how fast I was. So they get me on the clock, and stupid me, instead of getting down in a track stance like this, I decided to stand up and run my first 40. So I come across at like 4.7, which is not very fast in my opinion. The second time I do it, I come across it like 4.37. So they're all looking at their watches and they're like, I think we have something here. Now this guy by the name of Boomer Esiason, anybody know that name? So Boomer was the guy who was my recruiting host, and he definitely wanted me. Now here's the problem. I knew I had the talent. The problem was up here. I didn't believe I could do it at that time. So like you were explaining about your son, so I would add now, because of what I know now, I didn't believe I could do it yet. So anyway, how do you model for your child? Any ideas? Yes. Right. I'm going to come back to that. Let's hear what Rocky has to say about grit.
It was great
Moms always get that special attention, don't they? How many conversations have taken place like this at your home? Ooh, wow, I have to hear more about that. That was a dubious laugh. Not like that? That's good. Well, one of the things I thought about is, you know, we talk about goals a lot. I talk to students about goals all the time. And I was just curious, like family goals, like how many of you share your family goals with your child? Because we talk about modeling, and when I talk to students, when I interact with students these days, I'll ask them about that, and sometimes they say parents do, and sometimes they say they don't. The other part is, you know, I mentioned earlier about modeling for your students because really they're watching us. They may not be listening to us all the time, but they're definitely watching us. Yes?
Sorry, could you elaborate on what you mean by sharing your family goals? What that means?
You know, I think, so say for instance, I'll use myself as an example. We would go on vacation, and this was years ago when all three were in the house. We would go on vacation like a family vacation, so we would talk to them about that and say, here's the goal, here's what we're gonna do. We're gonna collect the change that falls out from your pockets before we do laundry and things like that. We're gonna collect that money and we'll spend those monies on our vacation. Those types of things. So, or it could be maybe starting a business. It's really personal. Does anyone have a family goal they want to share?
I'll tell you mine.
Please.
So I'm a single mom, and my boys are seeing me go to college. I'm taking them with me to my college courses, and now, you know, I have a master's in social work, and you know, where I work, and our next goal is to become homeowners. And because we need to reach that goal, they know that our budget is tight. And so if I tell you we can't have something, it's because our future is in home ownership, and it gives them a sense of accountability as well as me as to getting to that next step. And that's, you know, our family goal today.
Thank you. Does that answer your question? Really what I'm saying, we talked about engagement. Dr. Arlotto mentioned reading. I mean, it may be sharing some challenges that you had as reading or why you love reading, because reading is so important. Boys in the Boat, if you have not read that book, I highly suggest it. I read it in 2 days. It's a great book, and you know, so it's actually on the reading list. The author was here about a month ago at Glen Burnie High School. So that's a book that you may want to check out. You know, I mentioned sports. So about 31 years ago, I was involved in a game, and imagine we were playing this team called the U. So for those of you who have no idea what that stands for, it's the University of Miami. They had pretty much 6 or 7 or 8 first-round draft picks on that particular team. We were playing this team. It was a beautiful day. You know, the palm trees are flowing, hot. And the score's 31-0 at halftime in their favor. It's so bad that my own mom goes out shopping. You know, that's how bad it is. So you know, you go into halftime, and our coach at the time was Bobby Ross, a legendary coach. You know, and to be honest with you, even though he did threaten us with the fact that when we get back to campus, we're going to practice, and back then, they could do it, that really wasn't the incentive for us to go out and play better. It was really more about, we just looked at ourselves and thought about like what we needed to do individually. So long story short, the final score was 42-40. So who do you think won? They did. No way. I wouldn't tell you a story when they win. We win the game 42-40. So you probably wonder, like, how does that happen? Well, it's the same way the Kansas City Royals win the World Series. It was almost when it's 2 outs and they're down by 2 or 3 runs, they get better because they have the mindset that they know they're going to win. This guy, Steph Curry, for those of you, I'm going to use another sports example. Steph Curry, the Golden State Warriors won the championship last year. For those of you who have middle school students, when Steph Curry was in 7th grade, any of your students play basketball, middle school students? Any of them play basketball? You know, the basketball can be a little tough to shoot at that age, and he had a really challenging time. And he really shot from like down here, he couldn't shoot. So from 7th grade, that 7th grade summer, going to 8th grade, he worked and worked and worked and just got better. So he's good enough to where he's scoring a lot of points at his high school, but yet he really wasn't getting a lot of attention from the top schools, other than the fact that his dad graduated from Virginia Tech and was a really good basketball player and played in the NBA. Virginia Tech was sort of recruiting him as a courtesy. So he goes to Davidson. While at Davidson, he goes to the NCAA tournament and goes on a tear. He puts up like 39 points against a top-tier team that they're not supposed to be. He takes his team to the Elite Eight. And Steph, everybody knows his name that follows basketball or college basketball in particular. So instead of Steph Curry coming out at that time to declare himself a pro, he goes back to school to work. So long story short, last year, the Golden State Warriors win the NBA championship because of Steph Curry. So when you think about the word grit over a long period of time, here's someone who struggled at 7th grade, couldn't shoot, and now is probably the best shooter in the NBA. So we talked about setting a goal. So would anyone like to share a goal that's very clear and specific? Dr. Arletto, can I put you on the spot a second? I know, I like to do that every once in a while. So I'm actually buying them time right now. So let me go up here and I'm going to walk over here and.
I'm getting a little nervous about you doing all that walking. Setting a goal.
Stacy, do you want to help him?
I'll give you mine.
Please.
I want to see all 50 states before I turn 51.
Okay.
By my,
She-
my 50th year.
She wants to see all 50 states before she turns the age of 51. So it's measurable, it's clear. Yes, sir.
I'm on the school board. I've got two goals. We're going to raise the standards, and everybody's going to graduate from high school. Not A or B, but both.
Did you guys hear that? Isn't that's. You ready? Make a plan. Okay, so do you have a plan on how you're going to do this? So here's a really cool thing. You notice I'm calling on different people in a room because in life, and this is the thing I love about team sports, is like if I drop the pass, somebody else I can rely upon. The defense, the offense, the special teams. That's what happens in sports. Same thing in the school. Same thing. So maybe I should call on Dr. McMahon to help out Dr. Arletto, but maybe not.
We're trying to learn Spanish as a family, so we can speak Spanish in about the next 2 years.
Okay. Where do most people get stuck on these particular steps? One more time, I didn't hear that. Sticking to it? So on the first step is that, okay, making a plan. Sabotage. Okay. I think the good thing about this is I think there's a session on that. Yes, in the back.
Not seeing results quick enough.
One more time, I didn't hear you.
Not seeing results quick enough.
Oh, not seeing results quick enough. Okay. The reason why I mentioned Steph Curry, I'll come right to you, sir, is because that's what we're really here to talk about is your child, and I can use my own children as an example. The child that's at Cornell was not gifted and talented like his brothers and sisters. So his mom and I at the time, we didn't push him. We just let him be. And I know that's hard. That's the hardest thing to do is not to come in and help out as much as possible, but we just let them be themselves. Now, I kind of got lucky because we had grandparents who had 8 children and said, you know what? They're going to become themselves whether you like it or not. So it's better to kind of like guide them and empower them rather than just coming in and saving them all the time. Yes, sir, you were going to say something.
Yeah, so I just wanted to say that I think a lot of folks fail to reach their goals because they skip that make the plan step. sure they reach their goals. Don't just start moving towards the goals until you know how you can actually get there.
So a quick example. I didn't plan for this. I had no idea it was going to be here. So, I have an Apple bag back here because I have a VGA connector and a DVI connector because I was using my own computer. We had an issue with sound, but I had to have a backup plan, like you said. So I thought about all those things, and despite we made a phone call to the technical person, and they said we'd be able to do it. But you're right. I think sometimes making a plan, I think in the school system, this educators, you call it backward mapping. So that's the better way of doing it. Sometimes think about the end result. So say, for instance, if I wanted to put on 3 pounds of muscle by December 31st, 2015, if that's my goal, then I have to figure out what I need to do each week until December 31st to put on that 3 pounds of muscle. So the building blocks, 1 through 7. Keith, would you like to read the first 3?
Clear goal. Determination despite utter doubts. Self-confidence.
Out of those 3, those things were mentioned already. What do you think is most important for you?
I think that start, a clear goal. You got to have a place to start.
Okay. The next 4, who would like to volunteer and read these?
Humility, persistence despite fear, patience to handle obstacles, code of ethics.
What does that mean to you, the code of ethics?
Well, I'm a Marine, that's why.
Please share.
The Marines obviously helped to shape who I was, or who I am, but that came from who I was as a kid, from my parents. But it really sharpened my skills, created loyalty, what persistence meant, what it meant to reach a goal, what it meant to depend on other people, and what it means to expect the best from other people, even if they're tripping and falling. If you're going up the side of the mountain, you don't leave the guy on the side or the gal on the side. You pick them up and you take them with you. And that's part of being a team.
I couldn't have said it better. So 8 through 14, the building blocks. Flexibility, like I said before, when you have more than one child, that first strategy, that second strategy may not work on the first one, it may not work on the second one, it may work on the third. This one I think is super important. In the world that we live today, connection and collaboration is more important than ever before. People talk about resumes, and I think they're great, but I think they're antiquated because of this smartphone. Imagine the fact that your child has Instagram or Twitter, if they're in high school and you're allowing them to use it. They can make contact with someone in a field of interest. Okay, for us men in the house, being vulnerable is another way of saying this, asking for help. Being a Marine, I'm sure like you just described, teamwork is super important. Playing on a football team, playing any sport, being a part of a band, being a thespian, very important to ask for help. Appreciation of the journey. That's a tough one sometimes because you have no idea what the future holds for you. And sometimes, instead of us staying present, we get too far ahead of ourselves. This is the one I think we need to do more of, is share our grit with our students. We need to model it more. We need to talk to them. We need to tell them our struggles. What I loved about, and I didn't catch your name, the one who wants to become a homeowner, I think you set that goal, and sharing it with us, you can feel the passion that you had. And the fact that you've shared it with your children, they also feel the same way. So I applaud you for that. Loyalty, and of course, inner strength. Where do these things all come from? They come from you all. I know you model most of them. The tough thing that Dr. Duckworth would say is grit. When she's asked a question, she says, grit, they really don't have any idea how to teach it. I agree and I disagree, but I think we can model it. So here we have a sergeant, and I was actually going to do this, but because of the stage, I'm not going to. Kind of lucked out there. So what I'd like for you to do is just take a listen to his words, and we'll do a little demonstration if you guys will allow me to do that. But he's yelling, so please, he's not yelling at you, but just kind of take it in stride. Okay, so everyone stand up. So let's do a little reenactment. You heard him talk about some smart people at Harvard are studying the brain. And that for most of the time, we are not being present because we're thinking about something else. So what I want to hear you say is, what are we going to do today, right now? So right now, say that, please. Right now. What are you going to do today? Right now. What are you going to learn today? When are you going to learn today? That works better, right? Thank you for your time. I really appreciate it. But before I leave, I'd like to say thank you for being here. Let's give another round of applause to the board members and all that they do. I applaud you all because I know being a parent is tough business. It never stops. It's continual. It's always going. So I wish you the best. For those of you going to the growth mindset piece, the workshop, that'll be great. Anne Arundel County Public Schools is doing a great job. They're leading the charge in that area. So thank you again. Thank you.